In number 1, we have a pretty basic right triangle, and we're looking for a missing side, and we can do that just by using the Pythagorean theorem. So I'm going to set that up right here. A squared plus b squared equals c squared. The c squared is going to be my longest side, my hypotenuse of 12. So over here, that'll be 12 squared. Usually I'd identify that first. And then it doesn't really matter with the other one. So I'm going to call this 8 squared. And then this side that is missing, which is labeled as x, you could either call it x squared, or if you want to change it to b squared, either one's fine. We're talking about that side length that we're missing. And so now it's just a matter of doing some algebra. 8 squared is 64. Oops, that's supposed to be a 4. Plus b squared equals 144. So now I want to get rid of 64 on each side. The reason I'm doing that is so that I can get my variable by itself. Over here, these will cancel out, and I'll be left with b squared. I'm trying to isolate that variable. 144 minus 64 is 80, and so b squared equals 80. Now that whole side is not 80. That side squared is 80, so we need to undo b squared by taking the square root. That'll get me down to b. If I do it to one side, I've got to do it to the other side. So b is the square root of 80. Okay, so this side, we know the distance is the square root of 80. However, we want it in simplest radical form. Okay, so we want to break that down as far as we can. What I can do in that is really break this down and recognize I can pull out 4 times 4 times 16. The way you could, a couple different ways you could think about that really. This is 8 times 10. 8 is 2 times 4. 4 is 2 times 2. This 10 would be 2 times 5. So really, if you break it down into those multiples, you'd have 2 times 2 times 2 times 2 times 5. And I'm going to get rid of some of that. But what that means is we can pull out a 2 times 2 on the outside, which is 2. We can pull out a 2 times 2 on the outside, which is 2. And what would be left underneath the radical would be square root of 5. So altogether, when we break down the square root of 80, it's going to be 4 times the square root of 5.